Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to Soil Sky webinar, a conversation about how we can regenerate the world. I'm Minuzzi. I'm your moderator today. Super excited to be here with this wonderful group of folks. And I'm the founder of UMANA, a multifamily office that has a mission of redefining wealth. Beyond that, I'm also Adrian's partner at the Contra Ventures and Speed, like an impact investing firm. And regarding today, I just want to give a heads up, like how to do this. We will invite you to ask questions throughout the panel by using the question function, and we'll have some time near to the end to have them answered. So this webinar will be recorded, so it's a bonus. We all have access later. And without further ado, I'll pass it off to our inspirational speakers here today. And we will start with Ryland. As I rewatched Kiss the Ground yesterday and was super inspired once again, I'll just start with you. Tell us a little bit more about your organization.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Ba. Thank you, everybody tuning in. Grateful to be here. Yeah, as Ba said, my name is Ryland Engelhart. I'm the co-founder and executive director of Kiss the Ground, the nonprofit, as well as the producer of the Kiss the Ground film. And yeah, I really started on this journey of soil about 10 years ago, where for the first time in my life, I had felt a deep feeling of hope and a pathway. I saw a pathway for the first time in my life of where life could be better in a couple generations forward than worse, based on really understanding the ecological principles of grasses, trees, plants, and soil, and how human beings could be part of a trophic cascade of good for our Mother Earth. And it just kind of blew my heart and mind wide open. And I pretty much committed my life to being an advocate for soil health and regenerative agriculture. And so we've built a nonprofit organization to really awaken people to the possibilities of regeneration. And we do that through 4 programs. 1, we create media. 2, we provide farmers educational scholarships to learn about regenerative agriculture. 3, we have an educational platform for individuals who want to be advocates in their own lives, how to learn about regenerative agriculture, speak about regenerative agriculture, and be advocates in their community. And then our 4th, we work inside of policy at a local level in Los Angeles and California, as well as at a national level, advocating for policy change to help farmers implement regenerative agriculture. So grateful to be here. And Ba, I'll pass it back to you, and you can pass it to the next
No,
person.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing, and such inspirational work you do. I'll pass right to Ray, since I was also watching him there yesterday. So back to you, Ray. Share with us, please.
Thank you, Ba. And Ryland, thank you. Ryland's very humble. Ryland is a great catalyst, and he help be part of it. I got to meet Ryland about, I don't know, it was about 8-9 years ago, but my journey started, I'll be honest, my journey started because of failure. I'm an retired government employee, which had 30 years of government service with NRCS, USDA. Our mission our agency was to take care of and cure the issues with the Dust Bowl and with the problems with the soils and the resource. I came to soil health about 20 some years ago because I could see that we were failing as an agency, and we could see that farmers were going broke and the water was not getting clean. So I had an epiphany back then, and I've been in this journey towards regeneration. So I'm glad to be here and to share our experience down this journey. But again, my journey started because I could see that we were failing on the land. And so glad to be here. Thank you, Ryland and Bob.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Going back to failing on the land and all the work we've been doing as a community, I'll go straight to Doug from World Tree. I saw that Doug was visiting Kintsugi, Adrian's farm this week, and you guys probably was not just planting some trees together, but coming with some wise ideas on how we can do better. So Doug, if you can introduce yourself.
Thanks so much, Ba. Especially thanks to Ryland, Adrian, Ray for being on this with us. Pleasure to be in partnership with all of you. So I'm Doug Willmore, the Chief Executive Officer of WorldTree. WorldTree is rapidly scaling reforestation efforts for farmers and ranchers. And specifically, we partner with small farmers, we partner with large farmers, but we bring the fastest growing tree in the world that produces valuable and sustainable and renewable lumber to their farms. And we do that for several reasons. Number one, we sequester massive amounts of carbon in the process. And then we also help protect native forests by producing renewable, sustainable lumber as opposed to native forests being logged repeatedly. And then we build soil health and we improve the livelihoods for our farmers. And while we do projects with large financial partners, but the heart and soul of our company is the partnerships we have with small farmers, small investors. We call it, we like to democratize the movement. And so timber is no longer just available to someone with $1 million to invest in. Anyone can do it. And really happy to be working with Ray and Ryland and Adrian on the project we're working on together.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing. Adrian, your turn. Want to share about your ranger hat with us?
Yeah, so for those of you who know me, you'll know that I started in Hollywood, making movies and television shows and becoming essentially an icon of consumerism and capitalism on a show called Entourage. While simultaneously, I was also living a double life as a UN Environment Goodwill Ambassador, starting a nonprofit for ocean conservation called Lonely Whale. And in many ways, my lifestyle in Hollywood was at odds with my lifestyle trying to heal the planet. And so most recently, I've brought them together, my lifestyle and my passion for caring for the earth, and have moved to a farm where I'm now regenerating the soil to do Ryland's bidding and then planting Polonia's trees, thanks to Doug and WorldTree. And with you, Ba, aligning my investments, putting the money that I've made over the years back into a regenerative economy. Because I believe that we can do this at scale, and we just need to align our hearts with our wallets, with our energy, and with our lifestyle.
Well said. Thank you, Adrian. I'm getting a lot of highs from everywhere in the world here. So thank you everyone for joining us today, from Italy to Austin and Florida and Brazil. Everywhere I can see people sharing where they are. Thank you so much. And on questions, I can see a few questions coming up, like we'll soon get there. I'll just take advantage that I have them all here, and I'll make a few more questions before we start answering the audience. So I think we always start, like all of us that are super purpose driven, like it's all about the why, right? Like we started questioning things and we are not satisfied with the way things operate and how we can do better for our planet and society. And it always comes down to like why. So I would go again to Adrian, just like, since you just wrap it up, like what's your why? How did you start? Like how you ended up in Kintsugi from Hollywood to Bastrop now? What made that transformation?
Well, it became clear to me that the lifestyle of ever accumulating more stuff and things, more and more and more, this endless cycle of consumption was never going to end. You always needed to continue to consume more and more to find higher states of satisfaction. But that was an endless cycle that was actually quite destructive. And so I realized I had to personally come down to earth and get in the ground and ground myself and start working in harmony, in concert with Mother Nature, recognizing that I am emergent from the earth, and then I have to start working with that in order to frankly, live a more fulfilled and grounded, happy life. It was really because I was getting sick and I wasn't satisfied. In fact, I was deeply unsatisfied because there was always another goal that I had to reach. There was always another actor that was getting the part that I couldn't get, or, I was always competing, and that's this endless cycle of more and more and more. So I had to shed that and realize that my own well-being and my own health, I say, earth care is self-care. Self-care is earth care. So in order to heal the earth, I have to also heal myself. And for so long, I was looking out into the world to try and change the world out there, and I was neglecting the world in here. So that's why I did it, because I know that I need to heal myself, not only for my own betterment and happiness and contentment, but so that I can do better in the world.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Ryland, you come from a totally different background. I would say that you were raised in a way more awakened. Well, your mom is pretty awakened too, Adrian. So you were in New York, but you had the right mom guiding you. But Ryland, you had the way you were raised, right? That it was already super conscious and I imagine it was super grounded, and that connected you to the whole soil and trees and things that you're sharing and inspiring all of us today. How was that for you? Where your why came from? It was since you were a child you knew it, or it was little by little?
Thanks, Ba. Yeah, there's obviously many contributing factors, but I would say that having I definitely had parents that were hippies that were, growing food back to the landers. My dad lived 2 winters in a teepee in Peasleyville, New York, didn't go to college. And then, him and his brother married twin sisters, and we all shared one farmhouse in upstate New York and one bank account. And definitely the principle of life was that all of life is connected, all of life is one. And how can we operate as a cell in the body of life in a way that's constructed for the whole, or constructive for the whole? And that's led me down many different pathways of how to become more conscious, aware of the interconnection, the interbeing of life. And definitely my parents had a huge impact on that life is about making a difference, and life is about being an expression of love, and how can we be an expression of love in action. And I suffered for some of my early life looking for where my place was. I think like many of us, kind of what's my role. And when I found soil and regeneration, it was really the thing, okay, this is the thing I can go all in on, of this is my way to love people and love humanity, is through caring for Mother Earth. And, I've definitely gotten many different moments of whispers and inspiration that have continued to, guide and lead me down and encourage me down this path. But it definitely came from, growing up pretty connected to nature, a family giving me the context for it. And then, as we spoke about before, even, engaging in, ingesting plant medicine that had me really see, wow, what is this, connection? What is this intelligence of nature? And how can I be of service to Mother Earth? And so these have all been sort of threads that have guided me to be doing the work that I'm doing with Kiss the Ground.
Beautiful. Yes. Ray, I'll go to you, especially because of Kiss the Ground, how it transformed your work after being part of such a special project.
Thank you, Ba. I really appreciate Adrian's and Ryland's, because there's a common thread for all of us. And I think it's a spiritual thread. For me, early since I was 14 or 15 years old, I knew that God was calling me into agriculture. And in going through from a Christian background and learning and becoming, we were taught, and I was been learning that we were supposed to be ambassadors and stewards of the land. And I wasn't seeing that happening because I could see the suffering. I could see suffering in the land, how farmers and ranchers were becoming more and more indentured servants, and how they were enslaved by the construct that we've created as humans and mankind. And I could also see that we were destroying God's creation, that the water wasn't getting clean, the land was not changing. And I think what Adrian was explaining, that I myself was consumed in this materialism, this construct, and more. And also, now that I ranch here in southern Missouri, I could see how easily it is to get caught up in that, because we have to have so much infrastructure to maintain, and farms and ranches and stuff. But my whole point was, all of us go through this epiphanies in our life, that I call it the butterfly effect. One little thing could change our trajectory one direction or the other, and how everything was elegantly planned, and how this, for example, Bob, this movie came out at the right time. If it wasn't for the fact, I really believe COVID, as bad as it was, there was so many blessings from COVID that many people would have not watched this movie and have changed their heart. And you cannot believe how many people have told me, Ray, this movie changed my life. This movie. And I said, wow, because it gave them hope. And so what I'm wrapping it up, it's it's this journey, that the predestined journey that all of us have gone through. And we come to this point that there's got to be something better than this. And we have. And my epiphany came is, oh my goodness, it's about the soil. The soil's alive. Now think about this, as a soil scientist saying this, Doug, the soil is alive. We have taught all over the country, and today it's still being taught, that the soil is dirt. It's rock, minerals, and a little bit of bacteria, but it's much more elegant than that. So I just want to say it's an incredible, to me, has been a spiritual journey all along. So I'm glad I've been part of it.
That's amazing. Thank you. Before I go to Doug, one more, Ray, because I know Adrian and Ryland share the same passion for plant medicine. Because you already were so connected to Earth, did you also had any plant medicine exposure, or it was already on you? Because my sense is some people already understand the connection with our planet since ever, and some of us get even more connected after we experience plant medicine, right?
Bob, you're asking this question?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bob, I think most people don't realize, to me, it was a lot of people don't realize that the most ecology of any book that's ever been written, the father of ecology, Charles Elton, said there's more ecology in the Bible than any other book. So that book really helped me deal with people, but ecology. And I think that's what helped me connect. It was that connection. And then also too, I got to admit that Ellen Savory had a huge impact when I read his book. That had a huge impact. That kind of and going to Gabe Brown's ranch, the light went on. I said, oh my goodness, I spent 8 years in college and they gave me the wrong goal, Bob. Nobody ever told me the goal was to mimic nature. Wow. 8 years of university, and they taught me how to chemicals, more production, more this, but it never taught me how to love and nurture nature. So thank you for asking me that.
Of course, thank you. Doug, your turn. I think you brought us together today. The work you're doing with poetry is just phenomenal. Share your why, and or how do you envision even more of this community growing?
Thanks so much, Bon. I have to tell you, I see a little bit of my story in what Ray and Ryland and Adrian have shared, but especially Adrian. I've had a career as a CEO. The last company I built was a healthcare company in cancer research. And And after we had sold that, I really went into public service, government service, and manager of a large county and of cities. And it was really about 3 years ago that I found myself just in total despair over the climate. And especially because an entity that I wanted to make a difference with just didn't seem to be up to making that difference, and that was government. And so I remember coming home one night and telling my wife, I'd looked at this and thought about it. I said, it's time to go back to the private sector. And for me, one of the reasons I chose the private sector as a way to work on climate and the planet is because, and I think everyone has spoken to this, for so long, we've disconnected how we make money and what we care about. And Wendy Burton, the founder of World Tree, had started this company based on the principle that you can produce a tremendously positive environmental impact and produce returns for investors at the same time. And I thought it was important to really show that, to prove that, to be one of those companies that showed that capitalism could work. It didn't just have to be about making money. You could produce all of those other important things, and you could act in ways that were consistent with your values and what you cared about. So for me, I was fortunate enough to meet actually the same person that introduced me to Ryland. Now that I think about it, my twin brother Jeff introduced me to Wendy Burton and Kathy Key and the team at World Tree, and they were looking for someone to really help scale this company with a dream to help plant millions of acres, not just a few thousand, but millions. And so that's when I left and stepped into World Tree. And I know I have some board members probably on this call, but I would do it for free. And I know we're truly, I mean, this is I couldn't imagine anything better to do or more moving or more passionate than to help people reconnect with their values and what they care about and what matters to them, and do that in a way that heals the planet.
Phenomenal. Yes, 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 and yes. It's interesting because like being in this room, like you talk about conscious capitalism, like Ryland talks about sacred commerce. Adrian has multiple terms like from yield beyond money and impact investing and on. So like there is like all these different words you're using, but it's sharing exactly the same vision, right? Which goes back to a very important point, which is super grounded, because I think before we had a wave of we want to do good, but let's do in a very intangible way, and let's not measure, and let's not talk about money, and also denying money. And now we see you all like coming very grounded and like we need to invest. Actually, we need to use money, like something that Adrian always says, like money as a tool, and the hands who hold that money make the whole difference, right? So I'll go back to you, Adrian, like with the contra and the whole impact investing thing, and now Earth Speed being like such a great platform to share these stories and educate people about this type of investments. Like, how do you see investment being such an important tool for the work you all were doing?
Yeah, so as a environmentalist, I'm always looking to come to the most fundamental root cause of our woes and our challenges in the world. So working with water and soil and education and food, the things we eat, like these are all very fundamental to everything, and we need to fix those aspects, and then then that will like branch out from there. And there's one thing that I just kept ignoring, which was money itself. As some say, the root of all evil, but it could be the root of all good as far as I'm concerned, because once we recognize that money, it's actually quite a useful tool, and it allows humans to trade across time and space, at like differing values, disparate types of products and services. So it's this common denominator that we can use to create a really healthy, robust economy. But it's how we use it that's really the key. And for a long time, we've been focusing on money as the goal. But really, money is the flow of energy. Money is the tool that we use to create the lifestyle, the society, the communities, the nature that we want to exist in, a more beautiful world. And so I've been personally working to get into right relationship with money. And then I realized, I was like, well, if I could do that, what if other people did that? And then what if we created an impact investment company that aimed to be in right relationship with money, and then find companies that were in right relationship to money, meaning that money isn't the goal. Money is the byproduct of the work that we do. Money is the tool that we use to build the world. So the quote that you just mentioned is one of my favorite. It's, money as a tool, and the spirit of the tool is determined by the hand of the user. So you can hold a hammer and you can build a house, or you can hold a hammer and you can break a house. It's really a matter of what your come from is. What are you intending to use that tool for? So I agree, like, not to be naive and to try and reject money as a concept and pretend that we could go back to some happier time when we didn't have money, but actually use money and redirect it into through our hearts, through our intention, into the world. And that's something that I feel is fundamental to how we're going to actually build the world.
Bob, if it's okay for me to just add a piece to that, because I just totally agree with that. And somewhere along the way, we decided that it was okay to divorce what we cared about and making money. And what we found, and it may have taken a few hundred years or however, or 1,000 years, what we found is it's unsustainable. Right? We've just found that, and actually the capitalist system is delivering that message to products and services that degrade the earth right now. And I mean, Bob, as an investment professional, you can show your clients the numbers that impact funds and stocks are producing higher returns than other typical stocks that used to do great. And so I think it's that realization that, that model that was out there, this isn't just idealistic thinking, this is pragmatic, this is reality. That model is just unsustainable to say, I'm going to invest my money in places and like Adrian and I both spoke about, and act like that doesn't matter, and I'm going to have my values over here. And the source of I think the solution here is putting the two back together, reconnecting how we invest with what we care about, and what we love, and what we're passionate about, and what matters to us.
It's just like what Ray was saying, is to mimic our economy to nature. If we use money as a reflection of the natural systems, money needs to flow, and it needs to, you can't extract. It has to go back in and regenerate and be part of the whole, circular system.
I just want to add real quick to what Adrian, you're so spot on about money. It is a tool. For some reason, we always say, we always want to say money could be a destructive force. But really, I tell farmers, and my wife reminds me, says, husband, you're 99% of the problem. A majority of our issues, it's the way we think. It's us. It's the way we look at the things, the way we look at our farms, the way we look at the nature, how we look at our fellow human beings. Energy, money is a resource. It's an energy, and I love the way you understand that. It takes a long time for people to understand that basic concept, Adrian. And so I'm kind of glad that what Doug was talking, we can marry these things. I just want to say one thing. I get real frustrated at times. I've been on a lot of Zoom meetings. I have a lot of people, a lot of money calling in. We want to help. But at the end, I saw, how can we make a profit? And there's nothing wrong with that. Please don't misunderstand me. But when we started Soil Health Academy, I was a co-founder of Soil Health Academy and Understanding Ag. The reason we started that, folks, is because we knew what the major problem was. It was the way we were looking at the planet. We have taught for the last thousands of years, and especially the last 50 or 60 years, totally to work against the natural system. So we knew this was an educational issue, but rarely did I see how people wanted to invest money in education, like what Ryland was talking about. Right now, our biggest issue in our planet is an ignorance factor. We're very disconnected from the earth. The average person, including myself, very disconnected. And so when we bring this together, guys, and get the resources and people can make money, one of the things I have friends from Africa tell me, one of the most important things as an ex-Peace Corps volunteer, what people want the most is relationship. Us, relationship with them, and to educate and to teach. That's why the mantra of Peace Corps. Peace Corps said, if I give a man a fish, I feed him for a day. Remember that Chinese proverb? But if I teach him to fish, I feed him for a lifetime. So I think this group here together, I hope we never forget that we're here to teach people how to fish and use that money as that resource to do that.
Can I take that one step further, or should we continue? I'd say even one step further. It's not to teach a human to fish, but teach him how to reinvent fishing, how to recreate fishing itself. So we've gotten quite good at fishing, too good, I might add.
Yeah, we forget from the notion. Yeah, that's true.
And just what you were saying, like Ray, on like coming together and building the community, like and making this work. I know this like is an important. Well, we're about to announce, right, Doug, like an important partnership collaboration that is happening here between World Tree, Kiss the Ground, and Soil Health Academy. Do you want to share a little bit about that? And then even like we can talk more on like action items that we can do. You know, like bring responsibility to people, like for the audience, like we can all be taking actions, you know, like what can we be doing, you know?
Yeah, that's really great. So, you know, and this is an important step for World Tree, and we so appreciate Kiss the Ground and Soil Health as partners. And part of this started, I remember a couple of years ago, we had a new farmer of ours. You know, World Tree basically creates partnerships between small farmers and small investors to grow trees in regenerative environments. And so we sign up farmers from around the United States and in Latin America to participate and to grow trees and help them with their farm. We had a new farmer a couple of years ago who was really excited to join our program and had gone through all the paperwork. And they sent us some pictures of their new 20 acres, I think it was, ready to be planted in the spring. And they had tilled the entire 20 acres. They disced the entire 20 acres, which, as Ray can tell you, as Adrian can tell you, as Ryland can tell you, is the exact thing not to do. That's just degrading the soil, sending carbon back up in the air. And I remember seeing those pictures, thinking and us talking as a team, we've got to do something to educate our farmers about regenerative practices and soil health and what to do. And so it's really led to this point. And so all of our farmers, our existing farmers, over 300 now, will be offered spots in Ray's Soil Health 101, which teaches them about regenerative practices and about how to take care of and build their soil. All of our new farmers also will be part of that program. And again, people have seen Ray and Kiss the Ground, the movie, seen the work that he does, the commitment and passion that he has. And one of the great things is he turned that into action, right? So it's one thing to have passion, it's another to turn it into action. And so then the second partnership, and I really want to thank Kiss the Ground for this also, is all of our investors, the people, the small investors that invest into these programs that go into small farmers. Those folks will be offered seats in Kiss the Ground soil advocacy training. So how do you become an advocate for the soil? And not just on a big scale, but you at your home and in your neighborhood and your community. And so we're going to be offering that to all of our investors because as Ray says, and as Ryland says, it all starts with the soil. And we work with farmers that we start with degraded land in many places, many ways. There's been too many chemicals, too much pesticides, or the property's been clear cut from pine trees or something. And so it all starts with soil and soil health. And so we're really grateful to these two organizations. I know it's going to make a big difference for us and our farmers in the future. And as we continue to scale into the thousands, tens of thousands of acres, these two organizations will be partners with us as we do it.
Wonderful. Thank you for sure. Ryland, do you want to say something?
Yeah, no, I'll just say, yeah, it's exciting to see this collaboration maturing and unfolding, and just all the interconnection. And really, we as an organization really were like, how do we get more people excited about and advocating for soil, and then creating relationships with some of the best trainer educators for farmers, and connecting with Ray and Gabe, and then being able to connect the great work that they're doing with farmers that maybe wouldn't have access or connect to find them. And so how do we just scale and champion the right tools to the right individuals at the right time when they're ready to listen and learn. And it's exciting because the opportunity that World Tree is for farmers, it's really an amazing stacked enterprise to farming, which whether we know or don't know, it's a very difficult business to make money. And so to be able to provide farmers another really great viable income that also has ecological benefits is a really, really exciting thing to be able to offer and connect people who are really struggling to figure out how to make the economics of a farming system work. So grateful to be this connective tissue between advocates, farmers, investors, ecological regeneration. But Doug, I think it would be great to just really understand, the way that World Tree works, kind of a little bit more of like the process of how it works, of how farmers and ranchers and the economic opportunity of it, as well as the opportunity for investors. Because I think, I think everybody wants to wield their money to solutions that do good, but it's sometimes difficult to cipher what is real and what's not. And so I'd love to just give people really an understanding of the brass tacks of that pathway for farmers that wanted to maybe be listening, or people who wanted to deploy some of their resources to help farmers have greater viability and economic resilience, as well as ecological regeneration. So,
well, it's interesting because we have a World Tree farmer on this webinar today, and he's writing this. He's in the center of my screen. Yeah, right there. But very briefly, and then I'll let Adrian speak, because it speaks to his courage and commitment on the pathway that he's on and what he's done. I mean, what's the saying? You always put at risk what you have for what you can be. And, I have to say, he inspires me for what he's put at risk, right? He's put a livelihood at risk and a career, and that most people wouldn't have done. But anyway, so for World Tree, we work with small farmers in what we call our Eco Tree program, usually 10 acres and up, who will come to us and say, gee, we'd love to plant your trees. And so then we bring in small investors, as small as $900, as big as $1 million. But we raise this pool of capital that then gets spent on propagating startlings and trees and helping farmers plant the trees and oversee and manage and so on and so forth through the full 10-year life cycle of when they come to harvest. And those farmers, the trees benefit them, as you said, Ryland, not just for the economic benefits, but the shade that they throw off on the ground, the regenerative capacities of the leaves and the trees themselves, they reduce water usage on the property. And they're not easy to get started and get going, but once you get them going, they're just amazing, amazing trees. Fastest growing tree in the world, and they're the fastest growing tree in the world. One of the key reasons is because they consume massive amounts of carbon. So there's a huge amount of carbon drawdown. And again, Adrian reached out to us a little over a year ago saying, hey, that's one of the first ventures I want to do on my new farm in Texas, is to start to try these trees and really work with them and get them going. And for him, it was, again, it's a demonstration of his commitment. And so it's never easy, but I'd love for him to jump in or to, add anything regarding what the commitment was for him, for his property and for the planet to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the Empress Splendor, I've fallen in love with this tree, just working with it here on the land, but there's so many benefits, and I don't know, to list them would take a long time. You've already listed some, but not only is it an opportunity for me to continue to draw down carbon and enrich the soil, I love the idea of being able to intercrop with these trees because they go really well with many different other varieties of plants, and also bees. I'm looking forward that since bees love the Paulownia trees, we can also reintroduce bees onto the land, because a lot of this property was grazing land, so it's for cattle. So it's a lot of monocrop grasses and not really the healthiest soil. So we want to do whatever we can to just start to bring life back into the soil. And so for those reasons, the Paulownia tree was a perfect opportunity. But then also, of course, being an investor mind, I'm thinking, well, how can we obtain a yield as also a permaculturist? That's one of the principles. How can we obtain a yield and generate some income so that we can have financial independence here on the land? Because of course, as I've been taking the risk and doing less of the stuff in Hollywood, now this becomes where I'm going to generate some income. And so the idea that I could work these trees, sequester carbon over a number of years, and then they become now a cash crop for the community here, and we can make some money. That was awesome. And then I learned we don't have to replant them at that point. They grow right back from the stump. So once you cut them and then use them to make instruments or outdoor decking or something like that, then they grow right back from the stump, which means they immediately start drawing down carbon again. And you can do this up to 7 times. So to me, now I'm thinking my great grandkids can be growing and harvesting the Empress Splendor and also generating income so they can be financially independent and they can continue the legacy. So this is also thinking many years ahead. So getting out of the quarters and years mentality of our current economic system and really thinking multi-generational.
Awesome.
Guys, we need one more. We got hundreds of questions. So first I want to tell the audience that we will be sending emails with the answers there's great questions that should be answered. So we'll make sure to do that. But the conversation is so great that I couldn't just cut and not allow this flow. So thank you guys for sharing such inspirational stories and ways to do. Ryland, yes.
Yeah. Can we just have Ray share a little bit about the kind of knowledge of what people would learn and glean from the soil health 101 course, just because I think that's real, a critical.
Ryland.
Oh,
Yeah, yep. Thank you, Ryland, because I think one of the things that's very critical to understand is understanding the framework and the goal. Do you notice that Doug and all the panel were talking about how wonderful the trees are, and they are. But what we're trying to talk about is to look at things holistically and notice how you have to look at the whole thing as a system, from the soil microbe to the plant to the intercropping to the polycropping. What you'll learn in the course is how to look at the soil. If you don't understand the foundation, you're going to have a problem with the rest of the system. So what you'll learn in the course is to learn how the soil system works. It's to learn how to approach the natural system. So learning how to understand the soil, the ecology, how everything, and putting it all together in the context of the foundation of the soil will be very helpful. One last thing. Look, when I left college, I did not understand the goal. What you'll learn from the Soil Health Academy, you'll understand the goal, how to mimic nature, and you'll learn the 6 foundational principles and how to work with the natural system and how to use trees, cows, cattle, whatever you're going to raise. Those are tools, but your end goal is how do you emulate the incredible ecosystem, how to mimic nature. And I think that's what you'll get from that course.
Awesome.
thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ryland, for adding that. Thank you, Ray, it was great. Thank you. The screen you see here, it's really like for all of you to have a chance to learn more about each organizational here. So from World Tree to Kiss the Ground, Soil Health Academy, and the Contra, you can just scan and you get more access. Like we are all super available, Instagram, and have like LinkedIn tools, like just feel free to connect, but for sure we'll be answering like the questions that were sent. And guys, thank you so much for first doing the work you do. It's wonderful, that's what we need. And thank you for sharing, because also only doing but not making the time to share and inspiring more people to learn about how amazing you are, it's not enough, we need both. So thank you so much for doing what you do and for sharing with us.